Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's Star Report. This is Jason, and it is March the 15th, I believe. Yesterday was Pi Day 3.14, the shortened version of what pi is, and the weather in the stars and in the sun is intense. Imagine my surprise. It's like these last couple of years, humanity is called to move into a transition and be better. But on our way to being better, sometimes it seems like a shit show. So that's okay. There's lots of energy that is moving through, and so it is just the interpretation of the energy which is going to allow you to focus. And that's why I show up here every week and give you the Star Report. For those of you who don't know, I'm here in Brenham, Texas at New Dimensions Crystals and Reiki in downtown Brenham, right next to the radio station. If you want to get a session, go to the newdimensionscrystals.com and sign up on the website and book yourself a session and see me in person. Let's jump right in to the weather, and that is going to be the solar weather. The solar weather has been it was a low event for most of the week until a couple days ago when the sun shot off a ginormous CME off the backside, not at us. So the actual plasma and the debris that erupts from the sun isn't coming or wasn't coming in our direction when that released, but it was so large that it caused a geomagnetic storm because of how much energy it shot through the system, the solar system, the whole thing. So all the planets are electrically connected, which is why astrology works or is very predictive and instructive. And so that storm is still sort of going on, and we have like a level 2 geo storm going on the Earth right now because of that eruption. Not to fearmonger, but it would have been probably a grid smasher if it would have been Earth directed. And grid smashing meaning that we have antiquated electrical systems, and when it gets overloaded with plasma from the stars, sometimes power lines will go down, generation of energy will be disrupted, if not for a day or two, if it messes with machines for longer. And so this level 2 geo electric storm is here now, and so probably it'll start to wane over the next day or so. But just a reminder of why that's important, because some people wonder what's going on in their world, what's going on in their mind, or that they feel triggered or uneasy. And so that unease is really that I got a list here of things that happen when you have a geo electric storm like that. And that is usually moderate tech disruption, right? So since it didn't hit the Earth with the eruption, we're just having moderate tech disruption. That's going to be internet slow, phone reloads, apps sometimes don't work, and then maybe even power outages in some places. Increased wind, and you'll see that wind is higher than normal, right? This entire month, March comes in like a lamb and out like a lion, or out in like a lion and out like a lamb. Is why, because winds are usually intense during the shifting of the seasons, but they've been higher than normal, right? And that higher than normal is not because of global warming, it's because of the polar shift, which is allowing more electricity into the system. There's less of a shield from cosmic weather, and so that's causing these things. And so that increased wind is a characteristic of that. Also, increased emotional instability, right? So if your brain is electric or it's electrochemical, and the current or the energy which moves through your head and animates you takes a hit or gets extra energy into it, sometimes it's the brain fog, sometimes it's confusion. So emotional instability is a thing, right? And so if you're on edge or you're in high stress environments, sometimes it could be getting to you. You'll probably start to feel that under the arms with a hit to your adrenals, right? And so your adrenal glands, which sort of triggers your fight or flight or your ability to handle stress, will get burnt out, and you'll start to get pain there underneath the arms because you're running on high and you're running out of energy to sort of do stuff like that. And that's the emotional instability. People who have cardiac issues, whether that be an arrhythmia or a pacemaker and stuff, sometimes have issues during the solar storms as well. And then, of course, we should pay attention to increased earthquake activity that is, or seismic activity, which is typical of large solar storms that come our way. And so just pay attention to that we are in that current energy, and that's on top of or layered with what's happening in the stars. And so if you remember from the last couple weeks reports, we've been in this Pisces stellium, right? And so Pisces is the last sign in the zodiac and alchemically associated with the feet and groundedness. And so the stellium is really, I want to sort of describe it this week as, especially with what's coming at the end of the week, as the ability to ground, but also to sort to get energy, right? Like almost like you're crouching and you're ready to launch or jump or explode. And that energy is what the Pisces stellium is building up. And a couple of things are sort of funding that or giving that flavor, and that would be Saturn and Neptune. And so Saturn is really the creation of a new structure for your life, right? You're ready to jump into something new. You're ready to set parameters that are based on what you want, what you desire. And then Neptune is that sort of deep emotional, spiritual understanding, right? That there is a spiritual component to this world that, when embraced or at least acknowledged, allows you, even if you're going to continue to live a concrete 3D life, when you're informed by the spirit, it makes that energy better. And then, of course, it's got the sun and Mercury, right? So communication around those kinds of issues are also what's coming up. So that's today, or in general, the Pisces stellium, which I believe continues right up until the equinox, which is coming at the end of the week, or the end of our Wednesday to Wednesday that I'm broadcasting. Tomorrow is really going to be, or excuse me, for the rest of the day or focused on today, the sun and Neptune is really going to be about the harmony being developed with this stellium towards the end, moving towards this equinox that we're going towards. The balance or the harmony of mind and spirit, right? So this Neptune energy is, what is possible? Who am I as a soul? What is my purpose kind of energy? And usually that is negated or ignored because of our logical mind. I'm not that kind of person. These things can't happen to me. These things aren't real. I need scientific proof, right? So usually it's in conflict, but right now it's your logical mind, the way it's in union with Neptune right now and the sun, it is sort of saying, how do you reorient your logical self to start to make sense of this spiritual being that you are? And so that's the energy of today. Fun times. Let's see. So then that leads us into Thursday with that same energy. The logical mind will want to alter old patterns. And in those altering of old patterns, what you're really doing is you're renegotiating your own contract in your mind. How have I been living? What's going on? Into more favorable terms, right? Maybe you've been living according to how can you make money. Maybe you've been living according to what structure at work is. Maybe you've been living according to what's easiest to get along familially, like with your family, with your spouse, or just things that weren't necessarily how you wanted to build your life, right? And so your logical mind is really trying to alter old patterns to be better in your favor, right? So sometimes you can come into conflict with people in your life, but really what that is like, choose what you want, and then when you are happy with what that is, or when you've decided and started to create a you that is desirable to you and happy with you, then people can understand and relate to you better. So when you're giving yourself away, not just solely for the sake of others, but because you don't want to step on others' toes, then they don't know how to relate to you, or they relate to you in the way that you say that you are, but it sort of misses the point. And so relationships sort of struggle with that. And so this energy of the logical mind altering old patterns in your favor is a good thing that's going to be happening Thursday. And it's not altering your old patterns, your old contracts in a way that is dishonest. It's not like your bank is fixing to collapse and you paid yourself bonuses and then you let the government bail you out because you were doing bad practices. It's not like that. It's more of, if I'm true to myself, I can find people who know and can honor who I am being true to myself. So that's the energy of that. Venus and Pluto will be a little bit prominent in the stars for that, and that's going to just help you uncover, right? So we're talking about relations. It's going to help you uncover the stuff, the things, the issues from both past and present relationships that have led you or have guided you to the direction you're creating or that you're moving towards, right? And so this is good or bad in a relationship. This is what has those things done to create your path, and how has that path really, when you look at it as a whole, turned out better than you expected, right? And so pay attention to that energy on Thursday. Friday, not much is happening. Saturday and Sunday, we have the end of the Piscean stellium sort of twisting into reality, right? So that energy will be ramping down, right? So you'll, I won't say you'll feel less grounded, but you'll be less focused on where you stand and more focused on where you're going to go. And so Sunday, you might feel a sense of constriction where you're just ready to leap, to move, right? And so when I said at the beginning that we're sort of like crouching, ready to pounce, right? You're going to feel on Sunday when the stellium is starting to end, it's almost like that anticipation of, shooting a bow and arrow, of jumping off of a bungee, right? It's that last little, like, when is it going to happen? Maybe if you're into racing, you're waiting for the green light or the green flag or the checkered flag. Not the checkered flag, that's the end. The beginning, the start, right? Maybe you're into track and field, the gun that goes off when you start to run, right? And so you're waiting, you're anticipating that release. And so that's happening on Sunday. So you can anticipate it in a good way, right? Oh, this is going to be great. I can't wait to run fast and go achieve my life and goals. Or you can be like, when is this going to start? So pay attention to that. Monday. Let's see, what is Monday's actual date? The 20th. Monday, the 20th is the beginning of the equinox. Sometimes it's a couple days, depending on where you are on the planet, when we sort of hit that balance. The equinox is really Monday and Tuesday. And then Monday and Tuesday is the equinox. And then we have the new moon on the equinox at 0 degrees Aries, right? And so Aries is the first zodiac in the wheel. And so it's a new beginning, and being at 0 degrees is the very beginning, right? So that's the time to jump, to start, right? And so just sort of cosmically what you're looking at here, if the equinox is happening Monday, Tuesday, and the new moon in Aries at 0 degrees is Tuesday, Wednesday, like when do I start? Right? So that anticipation of when do I go is going to be messing with you. But the new moon in Aries alchemically is the higher mind, right? And so when you're thinking of who you are as a being, what you really do is you receive from soul, from source, from whatever, and it comes into the top of the head, and then it sort of works its way down through the body in cycles. And that's why the zodiac makes sense and why we pay attention to it, because it tells us where the energy from source is moving through the body and where we could best make use of that in our body, whether that be through physical activity or contemplation of those places in our body. And so Aries is really also associated with Jason and the Argonauts and the search for the golden fleece, or the higher mind, or this ability to sort of access the Akashic record or the group mind or the data, which some people believe exists outside of full reality, and sort of draw in that information about seeing into the future, being more spiritual, right? And so Aries is a really great time to do that. It's also associated with the ram. And so that idea that there is in the mind these sort of tracks in the brain when you look at it through, I think it's MRIs, whatever the imaging is, where you take pictures of the inside of the brain, where it almost looks like there's these ram horns inside of your mind. Those things are really going to kick into drive right now. And so when we're in Aries, it's also associated with the Aries stellium. And so the sun, Mercury, Jupiter, and Chiron are going to be active. And this is also ruled by the planet Mars, right? So it's about drive and anger and determination, right? So really Tuesday, Wednesday is the time to spring, and the energy that's leading up to that, and you might be experiencing this. You have this grand scheme, you're going to write a book, you're going to get a new job, you're going to redo your house, you're going to move, right? But there's just sort of a teeter totter or a back and forth of, I'm going to do it today, oh, but not today, or that kind of energy. Tuesday, Wednesday is the time to sort of spring into that action. And Mercury is going to really help you sort of communicate that, understand that, clarify that. Jupiter is going to give you the power to do it. The sun is just that active energy. And then Chiron is acting on your heart, but also your woundedness, right? This goes back to the time where I was talking about being informed by how your path has been formed by your relationships, and whether they've been good or bad, the things that they've taught you. So this energy of Chiron is really sort of going to give you the ability to use that, spend that as currency, right? So if it was emotional draining, right, all that energy that was built up on the emotional drainingness now is currency, right? Like, how much have you put in, how much have you survived, how much have you whatever. Now you get to do that, right? And so really Aries is making your own rules. We're talking about contracts in your own favor, but this is like, even if it's the same song as somebody else, right? So you can do this in music, you can do this in poetry. It's like, how would you cover the song of your life, or a song that you think describes your life, in your own voice, right? And you don't have to be a good singer for this. So just sort of think about stuff like that. That's the energy of the Aries, new moon in Aries, right? New moon is new start, right? It's the beginning of the lunar cycle, right? So we're at the beginning of the zodiac, the beginning of the lunar cycle. The sun is active. We've got Mercury helping us communicate. We got Jupiter giving us power. And then we've got Chiron going, everything that we thought might have been wrong with us, all of the energy, the heartache, the emotion that we spent, now is currency that we get to relaunch. Pretty cool. And then that sort of leads into this new cycle, right? We're at a cosmic cycle, at a cycle that is a couple days later. So let's see, Wednesday is the 22nd, the 23rd, 24th. So next Thursday, Wednesday and Thursday, no, Thursday and Friday. Next Thursday and Friday, Pluto, it moves into, what is it moving into? Anyway, Pluto's moving into a new sign. Oh, what's Pluto moving into? It's not on my notes. I totally forgot. But you'll look it up. It'll be fine. But it's an end of a beginning of a new 225-year cycle. It hadn't been in that spot for 225 years. So there's those cyclical things where society sort of goes in 200-year spurts, right? And so America's 200 and something years old, right? And so 225 years ago, we were into the late 1790s. Pay attention to that and sort of see what kind of things sort of shake up, right? And so if there's going to be a something to watch in the cosmos, it's going to be what are being reoriented in the nations. And then as a personal person, how can you reorient yourself so that whatever happens to be happening in the culture is in your favor, right? So whether that's participation, lack of participation, belief, lack of belief, trust, lack of trust in what's going on as a reality that is for you, rather than a reality that is being sold to you. That would be the energy of Wednesday of next week with the new moon in Aries, our great reset. What are we going to do? Who are we going to be? That's the star report for this week. Obviously, this is some intense energy. And if you want to get in some breathing before the equinox on Sunday when you're feeling really tense, we have Elemental Rhythm Breakthrough breath work here happening at the shop at 10 a.m. You can go to the website and sign up for that. The reason you sign up online is so I can have a head count, and that can be reserved by your payment so that we create a space and that people will show up, and that if you don't show up, that the space or my time is still accounted for. because it takes a lot of energy to sort of plan that event out. And so if you want to come and do some breath work with us, it'll help you sort of open up or expand and identify, especially if that's your intention during the breathing session, who it is that you're building, what it is that you're building, all these decision points. Maybe you're sitting there confused and going, Jason, I have no idea what I want to do with my life. Maybe you want to come and breathe and see if breathwork gives you that awakening, gives you that opening, gives you that little nugget of, oh, that's what all of these things that have been happening in my life mean. And, or it could be, you know exactly what you're doing and you're just feeling tired and fatigued. Breath work will reinvigorate the body and sort of give you some even physical breakthroughs where you feel vital or energetic enough to do the changes that are coming through the stelliums, through the new moon, through the beginning of the zodiac. So until next week, many blessings.